Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another video, another story. I'm your host on this channel, Johan, and I'm broadcasting from northeast Pennsylvania, coal mining country, at my sacred grove, under the sacred trees, by the sacred creek, having a sacred moment. The topic of this video is, should I avoid certain people, places, and things? Let's break it down. When I asked that question, should I avoid certain people, places, and things? My first thought is, what are your motives? What are your motives for avoiding certain people, places, and things? Now, if you watch my previous videos, and I like to do this, what I'm about to do, for several reasons. Sometimes I believe a word has a certain definition, and I find out it's not true. Depending on your area, city, town, village, culture, there might be some slang to the definition, okay? So motive, and if you've watched my previous videos, when I want to be as precise as I can with the definition, I do two things, one of two things. One, I'll look up the etymology of the word. When was it first used? Who used it? What was the setting, the circumstances? The other thing I do is I take a 1951, 52, 53 Thorndike-Barnhart dictionary, and I've been reading dictionaries for 40 years. From my experience, definitions of words in dictionaries change with the times. Government influence, religious influence, social movements. So the Thorndike-Barnhart from 1951, 52, or 53, it's pretty unmolested, if I could put it that way. Motive. Thought or feeling that makes one act. What is the definition of motive? When I say, as I asked, the question of this video is, should I avoid certain people, places, and things? I said, well, that depends on your motives. And motives are your thoughts or your feelings that cause you to act. Such as his motive in going away was a wish to travel. And down below, it says motive is impulse. Ever hear of, maybe you heard someone say to somebody else, well, I think you made that decision on impulse. Reason. Your motive, your reason. What's the reason? Okay? Should I avoid certain people, places, and things? The short answer is yes, depending on your motive. let's say you decided to stop drinking for whatever reason. For my 20 plus years of sobriety, most people, unless they're practicing the steps to the best of their ability, shouldn't go to bar rooms or clubs, okay? What's your reason for going there? So the short answer is, yes, in cases you should avoid certain people, places, and things, all right? Well, there's a part B to that question, and we could call it the middle answer. A lot of times you can't avoid people, places, and things. Family gatherings, going to a certain business, things like this. And well, what are your motives for not going to the family gatherings? Is there something that happens a lot that makes you uncomfortable? Maybe you don't want to go to maybe you need something. This business is close by, but they charge more than a place 10 miles further away or farther away. What are your motives? Well, if you're going to go to that place that charges more, don't leave there complaining on Facebook. Well, guess what? I just paid for this. Okay? I think you get it. Maybe you're thinking, well, Johan, do you avoid certain people, places, and things? And the answer is yes, I do. I do. Let's say a true story is I avoid certain people. Not many, but certain people. Well, what are my motives? What are my reasons? Okay? Well, not everyone is kind. Not everyone else has good motives. Maybe there are people that take my kindness for weakness. And I feel I'm being disrespected a lot. There are people, the narcissistic type, that, well, when you're involved in a conversation with them, and it may start out with something they ask about you, like your health, you give them an answer, and there's no response, and these people tend to just go on and on about themselves. If you could tolerate it, that's okay. I found, though, I can only tolerate so much disrespect. I could only tolerate so much dishonesty. I can only tolerate so much manipulation. Well, why wouldn't you talk to these people, Johan? And in many cases I've had discussions with, the way I felt I was being treated unfairly was promised that, that won't happen again. And my experience was getting involved, associating with these people again. It didn't take long for them, well, to go back to their old ways. If their old ways mean disrespecting me, If going back to their old ways means trying to manipulate me, if going back to their old ways means taking my kindness for weakness, I need to assess that. I'm not a monk, and I'm not a saint. Have you ever listened to a dissertation from a monk, say a Buddhist monk, or some type of spiritual person that they are pretty much isolated from the world, in a monastery, or they have a spiritual place like this, the Sacred Grove, and they're giving you advice about how to act in a situation like this. And you might think, that's fine for you, because in most cases, you are able to avoid unpleasant people. You are able to avoid angry people. And in most cases, someone like that, and if they're genuinely spiritual and compassionate, kind and caring, almost everybody respects them. So they don't have these situations every day like the ones I'm alluding to. I made decisions, maybe 3, 4, 5 people over the last 10 years. That's it. 3, 4, 5 people, and I know hundreds, thousands even. I made decisions not to associate with these people. For the various reasons I just explained. But the difference now on this journey is, and I've been walking it a few decades, practicing spiritual principles, applying principles to my life, transcending. At this point, I do not disassociate in a vengeful or angry way. I don't throw a fit and say, that's it, this is over, this is done with. I don't start an argument. You did this, you did this, you did this. You'll never get away with that with a narcissist, because they'll twist it around and make you feel bad for thinking you were treated badly. If you were treated badly and you were honest about it, that's all you need to know. So I don't get in arguments with people. So do I avoid certain people, places, and things? Yes, I do. 1, for my mental health. 2, for my physical health. 3, now I want to refer to the 12-step program, if you will. If you're a newcomer, 1 day to 2 years, you're still picking up the pieces of a wrecked life. You are just starting to understand what alcoholism was all about. You may feel guilty, you may feel ashamed, you may feel angry and resentful. All normal at the beginning. But if you've been a member of say, Alcoholics Anonymous for 10, 15, 20 years, and you've had the same opportunity as me to read the big book, to read the 12 and 12 book, and if you watch previous videos that I've made, how I started this spiritual journey just from being a member of AA is, here's one example. In the AA Big Book, in the 5th step, it talks about, as we talk to our sponsor about that 4th step, those 3 lists on the 4th step, it says something like a weight is lifted. And then it says we've been rocketed into a 4th dimension. A dimension we never knew existed. I was asking old timers, what does that mean to be rocketed into another dimension, a 4th dimension? Well, we don't know. You think too much. You ask too many questions. Well, I started researching what is the 4th dimension, spiritually speaking. That's how I searched it. What is the 4th dimension, spiritually speaking? And they mentioned Carl Jung, a famous psychologist, William James, another famous psychologist, and I've read their books. So I started to read and do research, and one thing led to the other. And when I began reading all these books on spiritual principles, texts, the Bible, various religious texts, spiritual ways, spiritual paths, I realized that there were little bits and pieces taken from all of them and put into the AA program. It says on page 164 of the big book, we realize we know only a little. That's not just a clue. The first 100 men and women are saying, the ones that recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind, are saying, we realize we know only a little. God will reveal more to you and to us. So what does that have to do with the title of this video? Should I avoid certain people, places, and things? And the point I was getting at with this last 5 to 8 minute rant, I'm a calm person today. I'm at peace today. Maybe you can, but I can't associate with people who are hell-bent on destroying other people's lives. So yeah, I avoid those types of people. Places? Well, I don't go to bar rooms or clubs. I can't off the top of my head think of places I really avoid. Is it okay to avoid certain people, places, and things? Well, people, that makes sense. Places, that's obvious. But what are things? What things should we avoid? When I said at the beginning of this video, when I answered that question, is it okay to avoid certain people, places, and things? I said, it all depends what your motives are. Things I avoid are being dishonest. I avoid being dishonest. Now, no one is perfectly honest. If you go through those 400 and some videos I made a few that are titled something to the effect, everybody's got something to hide. Everybody. Everybody has something to hide. It doesn't mean that what they're hiding is a crime. Most people hide things because they feel guilty. They feel ashamed. They don't address it. In a way, some of those people take out that guilt and shame by pointing out the faults of other people. You know someone like that? But everybody's got something to hide. It's just some people hide it better than others. So, I avoid being dishonest. I avoid resentful, retaliatory actions. If someone hurts, frustrates, disappoints, or annoys me, I don't start an argument with them. I don't make a statement to hurt their feelings or to punish them. I don't go gossiping about them either. I don't do acts that are destructive to punish them either. I avoid self-righteousness. I avoid retaliation. Because I avoid those things, and I've checked my motives, and I'm honest about my motives, I'm at peace. I'm at peace. Make it an amazing day. Make it. It's your choice. It's your decision what kind of day you're going to have. It's your choice. It's your decision what kind of life you're going to have. If you decide to avoid or disassociate with a person, place, or thing, you have to be honest about your motives. I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Johan out. Peace.